Dylan rubbed his eyes, damned if this history paper was going to get the better of him. Sure, his subject Ian Anderson had already been studied from every conceivable angle, but Dylan felt he had fresh eyes, or at least he'd thought he had. He hadn't chosen Anderson just because he was a descendant, one of only 2 in his generation. He and Bex had dubbed themselves the Anderson Club back in elementary school in honor of it. It was an honor, he supposed, given that they were halfway to the star that bore his name. That was probably why the assignment felt so important. Tensions were high among the crew as they neared Hades 352, the last star they could slingshot around to change course back to their original destination, which they'd abandoned in favor of Anderson's star. Dylan viewed his paper as taking a stand for carrying on to Anderson B. Dylan had inherited Ian Anderson's synesthesia too, although differently than Bex, whose fluid senses inspired great music. She'd gotten the better deal, he concluded, as his gift was more cerebral than sensory. On the plus side, he made connections that no one else did, but it hardly facilitated a rich social life. Case in point, here he was, alone in his room, facing a term paper that wasn't writing itself. Whether people agreed with heading to Anderson's star or not, the guy was practically deified, which Dylan thought was wholly unrealistic given his own repertoire of flaws. What puzzled him most was that there was no record of Anderson ever having had a relationship, the wrongness of which pretty well slapped Dylan in the face. Anderson had been good-looking and well-liked by all accounts. So if a guy like that never had a relationship, then what chance did Dylan have? Anderson had clearly channeled immense passion into his art, which led Dylan to believe that he'd loved, and loved deeply. But whom? Dylan had spent weeks ruling out every member of G1, the ship's first generation, narrowing the candidates down to Emma Hall, Eloise Rousseau, and Freya Carlson. But all evidence pointed to the 4 of them sharing an unshakable friendship and nothing more. Dylan stared at his computer in frustration until the fact that Freya's files regarding Ian Anderson were sealed gave him an idea. "Computer, find any other encrypted files regarding Ian Anderson," he requested. The search returned only one other, which had been sealed by the ship's AI herself. Now, why would Arya do that? He wondered. "Find all files in this sequence," he requested. There were 2 others, labeled Maya McCade and Earth, and all 3 had been sealed on Anderson's death. What secrets did you take with you to the grave? Dylan wondered. And why encrypt information about Earth decades after we lost contact with it, with everything known about it already in the public record? And why keep those records sealed a full 6 centuries later? What are we not supposed to know? Dylan couldn't leave a mystery alone. Like a cat with a ball of yarn, it begged to be teased apart. And who's Maya McCade? He wondered. Anderson had had a daughter named Maya, but her last name had been Hall Rousseau after her mother's, not McCade. It could be a nickname, he thought, discovering via a quick search that it was an Ojibwe word for black powder. That could be an apt description of Anderson's daughter, he thought, given that she'd reputedly been a firebrand. But there was no mention of her ever having been called McCade, and in any event, something about that didn't feel right. He decided that he needed to clear his head, and the bridge to the wilds was just the place to do it. He made his way to it in the dim of night, where he stared over the railing and opened his mind to inspiration. A ghostly hand brushed against it, making him start and turn to glimpse a young woman stepping out of sight. "Don't go," he called after her, then followed her to the river's edge where she stood hesitantly, looking out over the water, the hem of her diaphanous gown fluttering in an unseen wind. "I won't hurt you," he promised, prompting her to turn slowly and reveal a face that was impossibly beautiful, but framing mournful eyes that smoldered like fire. Dylan stepped back uncertainly, and recognition struck him just before the wall of water. "Ella?"